Alright, so welcome to lesson 4. As usual, I'm going to have a new file open. File, save as, have it saved in our usual place. So this time around, I have it saved as lesson 4 and have this as HTML, so it's confidential. So lesson 4.html that got opened. I use my HTML tag and I have um, my boilerplate our code. So as usual, let me get this renamed as lesson 4, or let me say this time around, let's say HTML5 lesson 4, HTML5 lesson 4. And what we're actually doing is working with images. Alright, so we want to be able to, we've been working with text, we've learned a lot about text, how to format text, how to bold it, put strong, emphasize, mark, and all of that. So now we want to want to play around with images on our page. Alright, so to play with image, the tag is just img. Alright, so img tag is what we need to use. Img tag is not a tag that you have to open and close. It's a self-close tag, and pretty much like this meta tag that you see up here. Alright, so the img tag has a couple of attributes that tells us about the image, that we want to show on the page. Okay, so the first thing there would be an src attribute. An src attribute tells us, just like href when we're working on link, um, the source, that's the position of that image that we want to show. So here like this. So we don't have any image yet. I'm going to have us go to we have a Google open, so let's go to Google Images and let's just download some images. So let me just say tech guys, tech inventors over there. So I can just have some of my friends there. Let me search them. If I say Steve Jobs, just get some of the images to work with. Let me use yes, the one that he can be proud of. I'm going to have that save as. I'll have it saved in the same folder as the folder I'm working with. It's in the 5 tutorial, and I'll call this Steve, or I'll call it Jobs. Okay, and then I'm going to have another guy, say Steve was. So I have Steve Wars. Save as. I just want to have a couple of images to work with, so I can call these Wars. Okay, so I'm going to have another guy. I have Larry, so we can have Larry Page. So I can have this guy. Saved. No, I want to have your attention. So let me have this save also as Larry Page. You can find out who these guys are. So let me have Sergey Brin. So let me have Sergey. So Brain. Okay. So let me have Mark. All right, I guess this is enough to play around with. Okay, so I have these images saved in the folder that I can easily reference. So I'm going to go back to my HTML. Now, the source tag, like I said, is where we have to indicate the position or where the image is living. All right. So now I know the image is in the same folder with all my, my HTML element that we've created earlier on. So we have bring jobs and all of that. So if I need to show up jobs right now, so all I need to say is just mention the name, jobs, dot the extension, the image name, dot the extension of the image. So I have to check the extension of the image. So the extension of job is a JPEG file, so the extension is a JPG. All right, so I'll just go in there, .jpg. That's the extension of that as the jobs. All right, so if I go into my page, this lesson 4, right click and open with a Chrome. So I'm gonna have jobs open on my page because I have the right source file. So image src equals to jobs dot. So if I want someone else, let's say I want words, I can just put words dot jpg. All right, so if I refresh that, I'm gonna have it change to words. Okay, so it's simply by just giving it the name of the file. Yeah, you have to be sure of the name of the file, and then the type of file that it is, that's the extension of the file. So you can have jpg, html, jpg, like that. So you have something like this. So let me say I take it back to jobs now, like that. So apart from this, just in case I misspell this, so instead of jobs, let's say I call it job, what will happen? So you notice that by the time I do this, because the spelling is not correct, it doesn't match the name that the file is being saved with. I'm missing an S, so you have job, and there's nothing like that, so nothing shows up as something like this icon, So because of that, for whatever reason, if the image doesn't show up, even if the name is correct, maybe network error, the network strength is very low and all of that, and for that reason the image might not show up. There is something that we call alt. The alt is just in case someone misses out on this image and is not able to see the intent, that your intention, that's I'm going to show Steve Jobs. So there's something called alt, that's alternative text. So I have Steve Jobs. So this will be in place for him even if his image can't show, so people can still feel like yes, he's the one that is supposed to be there. So we can see Steve Jobs like that. So we know that this image is not just showing, but it's Steve Jobs image. All right, so that's an alternative text, and this is a W3C initiative, that's World Wide Web Consortium initiative, to make web accessible. So they call it Web Accessibility Initiative. Why? All right, of W3C. So even when content are not loading, people who go to the site at that time should still be able to have a feel of what the content is meant to be. So that is what alt is. So you can feel free and put anything in there. So if I come here now and write the right thing, so we can have that. So I can have this as the job. If I mouse over it, it's going to tell me the alt. So I have that. So I have the Steve Jobs back to where it was. So let me bring in more images. I can have img src like that. So let me say I have wars.jpg and have alt text for was is Steve Wozniak. So if I have this saved, then I can have another image like that. So I can have Steve, and then I got Wars. Okay, now sometimes what you notice here is both of them are not of the same size. So sometimes you want all the images, irrespective of their original width and height, you want them to take the same form, so that they don't just mess up your design, the concept of your design. So you can see there's no orderliness in this. This is short, this is tall, this is wider, this is not like that. So you want something to some sort of uniformity um, in your work. So um, the image, you can guess that the image has width and height attributes. Okay, the image has width and height attributes. So for instance, if you come here, we can specify width of the image to be equals to let's say we don't want it to be more than 200 pixel, and then we say it height to 200 pixel. So we can have something like this. This is one of the ways of doing it. So so what we're doing here is we're overwriting its default width and height. So we're setting the width that and height that it should obey. So that's the attributes and other attributes of the image. So we're setting this. So now we say this should take 200 pixel also. Now, so if we refresh this, so we can see that both of them are now of the same size, even though originally they are not. So here you've just overridden the default width and height of that image. So that's an attribute of an image. So furthermore, we could have something that we call title. So the title, so title, so it could be something like this as well. So so when you mouse over it, it tells you the name of that person, or an information about it. It doesn't display on page by default. So let's say this is Steve Warren. If I want to reference an image that is not on my site, it's not on my website, so, and I want to link to it, so we have src equals to, for instance, if I go to that Google images that we went earlier on these images, so we have something like this. Let's say I want another guy. Alright, so let's go ahead and pick an image from the web, so just like we did earlier on. So I'm just going to go straight to my Google that we went earlier on. So I already have this guy. Let me get another friend. So let me get Linus. Now I'm just going to look for a good one. So I have this. So right now I'm not interested in saving a local copy of this like we did earlier on. So I'll just right click and then copy image address. So when I do that, I just paste that here. Now when I paste that here, and just ensure that my tag is in good form, and then we'll go back to this. If we refresh, then we have this. So pretty much the same problem that Job and Was had earlier on. There's no uniformity, so we can just go ahead and make it have the same geometry as the other colleagues, so we can have it there. So refresh it and we can have them in the same. So what you can notice that there's some sort of bad aspect ratio though, but what we're interested in right now is resizing it and changing its styles, its width and height attributes. So apart from doing it, the width and height attribute this way, I could use my style tag to do that as well. So let's say I have img src equals to so let's say we have Mac dot, I think his extension is JPG, like that. So if I have this saved, so if I go to the page, refresh it, so I got Mac, which is quite big, and now I want to resize Mac. I don't want to use the width and height attributes like that. So if I come in here, I say style equals to so here too I can specify the width, so equals to 200 pixel, and then height equals to 200 pixel. So if we do that and refresh it, so it becomes like the other one, even though the method that we used for their ratio is different. So here we're using style, here we're using the width and height attributes like that. So the result is pretty much the same, but then there's one that is better than the other one. So I will tell you that this is better than this for a reason that will be obvious to you later on. So later on we're going to be writing what we call style sheets. The style sheet is pretty much just separating these instead of individually styling everything. Every component or all elements that have similar behavior or similar properties, we can just group them together and then we write a style sheet for them. So if another style has been written to for all images to take a particular height and a particular width, that will mean that that will be the one that will be obeyed, not this one. But if it is style that is used here, so it's not going to obey any style that is specified elsewhere, it will be this one that it will obey. But if another style is specified, and let's say, and in the style images, all images are said to have certain width and height, those are the one that these ones will obey. It's not going to obey this 200. So if it says to 500 pixel for instance and 500 pixel for instance, that's what it's going to obey, not this one. So that's the advantage of using style for your width and height over the default attributes width and height attributes. Alright, so we have that to be there, so we can save it, nothing has changed yet. Now another thing I want us to know is the maximum height and maximum width attribute. Okay, so even though what we said here is 200 pixel and 200 pixel, so it means that they can, if they are not up to 200 pixel actually. So if we have a very small image that by default is not up to 200 pixel, is not going to, for instance, if I specify this to be 500, I don't know if they are all up to, let's say 600 pixel by 600 pixel. So if it's not up to 600 pixel, it will just get up to its maximum height and width, and it will stop there. So it won't actually scale to what I specify, so it will scale below it because its original width is not up to what I have specified. So and this would bring some sort of unpredictable behavior. Alright, and that's why we have something in styles which we are going to be expanding in CSS later on. We call it maximum width and maximum height, minimum width and minimum height. So if you want to specify a maximum width and maximum height that an element could have, so you specify maximum height so that even if its height is bigger than that, it's not going to exceed that. And minimum height is, even if your height is not up to that, ensure that you are able to meet up with that. So that way I can be rest assured that all my content will always be displayed the way I want, especially if it's a dynamic image that you can't predetermine what the width and the height would be. Alright, so when you say something, when you specify statically like this, that's 200 pixel, what if the original width of the image is not up to 200 pixel? Then there will be a problem. So if his original image or original width is, let's say, 150 pixel for instance, and then it's going to remain 150 pixels, so it will be different from others whose width is more than 200 pixel. Alright, so that's why we have this that we call minimum height. This another style, we have minimum height. That's the minimum height that this thing could have. So you can specify it. That's okay. The minimum height is 100 pixel. So it can't be less than 100 pixel. Even if your height is not up to 100 pixel, you have to scale yourself to 100 pixel. And then there's equally what we call minimum width. Okay. The minimum width is, even if your width is not up to that, you ensure that you are, you scale up to that. Okay, so we have minimum width, minimum height, and then maximum width. So let's say maximum width is 200 pixel or 300 pixel. So what we're saying is, at maximum you shouldn't be more than 300, even if you are more than 300 by default. So we're just trying to specify boundary. for this. So minimum weight, maximum weight. So this is how this is done, and this is not particularly on image alone. So for any container, we can specify its width using style, and we can put the maximum width and the maximum height. But it's specifically useful for images. So if you have that, so you can have something like this. Alright, so still talking on images. So we've done how to bring in images, how to reference an external image that is not on your page, that's from a remote server. So we're using it like devup.com, bringing my friend Lona Stovard. So let's have title. So let me have Linus Torvald. So I have that. Now the next thing I want us to explore